Indonesia is back in the game. Yup, after a brief hiatus caused by that uninvited guest called Corona, the Indonesian government is moving forward with their big IKN project. What is the IKN, you ask? Well, it's a long-term plan to shift the capital, Jakarta, to East Kalimantan on the island of Borneo. In order to make way for this new metropolis called Nusantara, the government has been on a rampage, obliterating hundreds of hectares of forests, farmland, and grasslands. They're making room for a city that'll be the apple of Indonesia's eye, but at what cost? Well then, stay tuned as we're going to give you a full update on this much talked about topic. So the outline here is that the Indonesian government is making strides, and by 2024, the first stage of construction will be done. Now that's what we call ambitious. You gotta give it to them, they're not holding back. The plan to shift the capital was actually suggested way back in 1957 by Indonesia's first president, Sukarno. But unfortunately, the idea was thrown into the bin and Jakarta became the capital in the 60s. The fundamental question now arises, why was such an initiative taken? You see, Jakarta has been dealing with some serious ground subsidence for years now. And with 25% of the city below sea level, rising sea levels are becoming a real threat. Plus, let's not forget the horrendous traffic and pollution levels. It's a recipe for disaster. Jakarta is sinking, and not just a little bit. We're talking about 40% of the city being submerged in water. That's a lot of water, folks. Jakarta is already home to more than 11 million people, but the population swells to a staggering 30 million at times. Can you imagine? That's like the entire population of Australia moving into one city. And with so many people crammed into such a small space, water can't seep into the soil like it usually would, causing serious flooding issues. But wait, there's more. Traffic congestion is also a major problem, which means that people are losing out on productivity to the tune of $6 billion. Yikes, and as if that wasn't enough, climate change is making things worse. So the Indonesian government is taking matters into its own hands and building a brand spanking new capital city. They're hoping to entice local and global talent to take up residence there, and it's going to be one of the biggest infrastructure projects in their history. But fear not, President Joko Widodo has a plan. He believes that relocating the capital will ease some of the strain on Jakarta and bring out a much-needed change. Hey, if Egypt can do it, why can't Indonesia? They're already constructing a brand new capital on the outskirts of Cairo as we speak. And let's not forget Brazil and Myanmar, who also jumped on the new capital city bandwagon back in 2005. Brazil built Brasilia, a city designed by Oscar Niemeyer, and Myanmar moved its capital from Yangon to Naypyidaw. It's like a game of musical chairs, but instead of chairs, it's capital cities. So the president came up with the idea of building a new capital, and it wasn't until 2019 that he proposed relocating it 800 miles away on the island of Borneo. The reason? To address economic inequality and to give Jakarta and the island of Java a break from being burdened as the capital city. And guess what? The Indonesian parliament even passed a law to enable their relocation. But the question is, why did they choose East Kalimantan? Is it because of its jungles and orangutan population? Nope, it's because the area is not affected by natural disasters like earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, and tsunamis. Only 3.7 million people live there, and it's known for its mineral richness. Now, strategically speaking, shifting the capital to East Kalimantan would position Indonesia closer to areas of interest, such as the Kalibasi era and the Pacific Ocean. We mean, who wouldn't want to be closer to the Pacific Ocean, right? So apparently East Kalimantan is Indonesia's second largest province, and it's located on the eastern side of the island. And guess what? That's where they're planning to build the Nusantara. Exciting, right? But hold on a minute, my dear viewers. It turns out that East Kalimantan already has two significant cities, Samarinda and Balikpapan. Unfortunately, these cities aren't exactly eco-friendly. In fact, their primary economic activities involve cutting down trees and extracting oil. Not cool, guys. And don't even get us started on Balikpapan. Sure, it has its own refinery, but let's just say that it's not exactly doing wonders for the environment. It's like Balikpapan is saying, why have fresh air when you can have pollution, right? But here's the thing. Nusantara can't make the same mistakes as Jakarta. We don't want to create an environmental policy that's about as sustainable as a house made of jelly. And we can't just copy Samarinda and Balikpapan dynamics because, let's face it, we want a brighter future for ourselves and our planet. At a whopping cost of over $28.4 billion, and let's be real, probably way more, the government is going all out to make this place a central hub of Indonesian identity. So say goodbye to Jakarta's pollution because this new city, called Nusantara, will be a low-emission zone. And get this, it's not just for the government. They're inviting all the top industries to set up shop there. From pharmaceuticals to medical tech to sustainable growth, they want it all. Now here's the kicker. Did you know that a whopping 60% of Indonesia's GDP is centered on Java, with Jakarta contributing a whopping 20% of the GDP? Meanwhile, regions like Kalimantan are lagging behind with less than 10% of the total GDP, despite having abundant resources like coal, gold, and oil. We mean, come on, Kalimantan is like the neglected child of Indonesia's economy. But now the government's got a bright idea. Why not shift the capital to East Kalimantan? That way, we can spread the wealth and finally give these guys a chance to shine. We can almost hear the sigh of relief from the folks living outside Java who've been feeling left out for ages. They're practically jumping for joy at the thought of being included in the country's development. And now apparently the top priority on the to-do list is building a toll road. Yeah, you heard that right. They're constructing an apocryphal road, which happens to be the main entrance to Nusantara. Apparently, it's almost done, 80% finished to be precise. But that's not all, they've also got their sights on acquiring land and creating a super fancy engineering plan. Oh, and did we mention that they were receiving a whopping $350 million from the Indonesian Public Works and Public Housing Ministry for this initial phase? And let's not forget about the soft and hard infrastructure that it will need to flourish. They're talking about developing urban utilities, toll manufacturing, seaports, airports, network and communications, the works. It's all happening gradually, starting from the presidential palace and central government headquarters, all the way down to housing districts for government workers and military and police personnel. But hold on to your hats, folks, because the goals for this new capital are out of this world. They're all about promoting economic quality and inclusivity, deriving 100% of their energy from renewable sources, and ensuring that 80% of mobility is by public transport, cycling, or walking. The Indonesian government is planning to create a low-carbon super hub in the new capital, and it's going to be smarter than a bag of smartphones. They're calling it Nusantara, and it's going to be a city that's super sustainable, high-tech, and great for the healthcare and technology sectors. They're talking about incorporating information communication and technology to improve operational efficiencies, and they're promising better quality government services. Let's be real, who doesn't love good quality government service, right? Now, as we told you earlier about the economy, it's huge. No worries, because the government has got it covered. Well, sort of. They plan to provide just under 60% of the funds, and the rest will come from the private sector. We know what you're thinking, isn't that a bit risky? City planners are trying to avoid issues like inequality and corruption that can come with private investment. But they're still counting on it to make this whole thing a reality. It's like trying to build a house with one hand tied behind your back. Sure, it's a challenge, but it's also kind of exciting, right? Furthermore, it's going to be palm oil-licious. That's right, they're expanding palm oil plantations and lodging in an area rich in diverse wildlife and lush rainforests. I mean, who doesn't love the smell of freshly destroyed rainforests in the morning, right? But wait, it gets even better. The indigenous people of Borneo are worried that their environment and culture could be endangered by the move. Can you believe it? They actually care about things like wildlife and culture. What a bunch of weirdos. And get this, the government doesn't even acknowledge ancestral land claims, so the indigenous groups are worried that their villages will be destroyed. But don't worry, there's no legal mechanism for indigenous landowners to be compensated. So they'll just have to suck it up and enjoy the view of palm trees and bulldozers from their new shanty towns. So let's all grab some popcorn and watch this mega project unfold, and let's hope that Nusantara can learn from the mistakes of others and create a sustainable future for us all. Alright guys, that's all for now. If you have anything to say, feel free to comment down below. For more exciting content like this, subscribe to our channel. Also, don't forget to press that bell icon. We'll see you guys in the next one.